What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. I want to go over some of the transfer news. So, obviously, Norgard was announced in between my last video and cute video with this kid. All that. Looked happy to be here, and it's just kind of a whatever move. It's good depth, cheap price, good experience. Not gonna really move the needle. We want other signings to do that, but he's a good squad player, and I can't really be upset with it. Don't really understand why a lot of people were outraged about it, but yeah. Uh, Decent signing all around. Good signing, I would say, as long as he shows the form that he had at Brentford. And yeah, so the bigger news, obviously, yesterday, the Madueke, here we go, came out, and the meltdown was insane from it. I mean, he was never on my wish list for this team. I wanted depth in the wings, but he was not the guy that I wanted. And that's not to say that Madueke is a bad player or I don't want him at the team. It's the price. It's purely the price. 52 million, probably around 45 to 50 million guaranteed is way too much for this guy. It's especially when you see today links with Bakayoko leaving for around 30 million PSV or being available for 30 million for PSV, who has similar stats, granted in a lower league, but I I don't see much in between these two players. So I guess the only thing you could say is Madueke has the Prem experience. He doesn't. I mean, he's played in the Champions League. Madueke hasn't. Maybe he has with PSV. I don't know. But yeah, the price is just it worries me because is this going to affect the Rodrigo deal? I don't think it's going to affect the Eze deal. I don't think it's going to affect the Gyökeres deal, even though we're still haggling over 5 million for that, because I think a lot of people blew that out of proportion. But we were told that we would get three attacking options: Eze, or an attacking-minded midfielder, a striker, and a winger. Not a left winger, not a right winger. So maybe Rodrigo's just a premium. I expect if he's to come in, I expected Martinelli or Trossard to leave anyways, most likely Martinelli. I think if he picks us, we'll probably sell him to a Bayern who are interested in him, and we'll probably get a good price for him too. But I don't I don't see Rodrigo coming to us 100% as much as I've been hoping for him. I think Liverpool, especially with Jota passing away, they're already looking at attacking options. Now they're going to need another one on top of that. And then Darwin Núñez is going to leave. So they've been linked with an Ekitike, an Isak, a Benjamin Sesko. Um, and I wouldn't be surprised. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they land Isak and Rodrigo. Because if I'm Isak and I see Liverpool gets Rodrigo, because I think that deal would probably come before that, then I would love to go on a team where I have a partner who's around my age, who will be there for years, and a Mo Salah who's experienced, probably the best player in the Prem right now, right by my side. So tying this into the Madueke deal, 52 million puts the budget in jeopardy. It He's only on 50K a week, so it's not like buying Rashford for 40 million who's cheaper but wants to be on 275 a week. Who I think Rashford's a better player, but I don't want them paying anywhere over 200K a week for him. I don't, let alone 275. But that's Barcelona's problem to deal with. Madueke, when it comes to him, he's got a decent ceiling. I think he could be a good player. I think he'll be good depth, but we overpaid for him way too much, and rivals are kind of laughing at us for him. We're kind of just bailing Chelsea out, a team that doesn't really need any more money. They already make a good amount of player sales. We already buy enough of their players. We bought Havertz for 65 million off of them, and bought Kepa for 5 million. All right, that's kind of chump change compared to the rest, but they're getting tons of money for being in the Club World Cup, making it all the way to the final, and we're just gonna stack more money on top of that so they can try and attempt for Rodrigo, which I don't think they'll get because I don't think they'll be willing to break their wage structure for that. Maybe they will, and if they are, then why did you not bring in someone like an Osimhen, who, yeah, he's gonna demand 400 to 500K a week, but if you can negotiate him down, give him a lot of incentives, like, hey, we make the top four, you get €1 million or whatever it is, however they negotiate the incentives, because he's going to Turkey for around 75 million. You could have not bought João Pedro. Liam Delap's a steal, and that's a great price to get him at 30 million release clause. But you could have went out. You could go out for somebody else. You can even try and splash money on a Seshko, who actually he probably won't even ask for that much money. But yeah, I can't see them landing Rodrigo. But the Madueke deal puts this deal in jeopardy. Not as a not Rodrigo or not as a not Gyökeres, because I think those deals will get done. What does this mean for the team? Because if we let go of, if we could have brought in Rodrigo and kept the Martinelli and Trossard, I would much rather have that than Madueke, because I don't think he's better than any winger we have, including Waneri. He's better than Reece Nelson. That's the only person on our books that he's better than in the wing position. So I'm annoyed with this deal. I was upset with this deal. I didn't want it to get done. If it was done for around 30 to 40, I could stomach it. 30, all right, Chelsea barely. That's around what Chelsea paid for him. That would have been fine. Even 40, whatever. Could have been up to there with add-ons, but 52, it's a laughable move. But you know what? At the end of the day, it's not the end of the world. I think he's a good player. I think he can beat people well. I think the main problem with him is his end product, and we already had enough people in this team that, especially like Odegaard and Martinelli of the last 18 months, have not had that finishing touch that other players have at this team. So, yeah, he'll probably be a good creator, because this team does create a lot of chances. He'll be good depth, because he's someone who could come in and give Saka serious rest, and it's not going to be someone I'm going to be overly confident starting against City or Liverpool or Chelsea or Newcastle. But I think someone coming in, starts against Leeds, starts against Sunderland, starts against current Brentford. I don't think that's bad of an option, but it was definitely not someone on my wish list, and it's created a real divide in the fans. And I don't agree with the death threats or the insane shit being said to Madueke. At the end of the day, he's going to be an Arsenal player now. I'll support him. I supported Kai Havertz as much as I don't think he's the striker we need, but it's going to happen. And stop getting mad at the player for wanting the move. The player wants to come play for us. That's great. That's what we want. We want every team wants people to come and play for them. Not for money, because he's on 50K a week. So he's not coming here for money. He's coming here to win. He has a mentality to win at this team. And he probably thought he could do that better than at Chelsea. And that's not to disrespect to Chelsea, because they obviously won a trophy this year. They're in another final this year. We aren't. We haven't been in a final in years. We haven't been in a final since we played Chelsea. And they've been in how many finals since then? It's whatever. But don't be mad at the player. Be mad at the club. I see a lot of people blaming Arteta, and I know Arteta was the one that said, he was the one that gave the green light on this deal and pushed for this deal. But at the end of the day, the club decides who and what we buy. Everyone wants to praise Berta for overriding Arteta and bringing in Gyökeres, or bringing in Eze, or bringing in a Rodrigo. But you also have to give him the stick for bringing in a Madueke, because at the end of the day, he's the guy that does these deals. Unless at the club, Arteta and him are 1A and 1B, I don't know what to tell you. It seems like he's the main guy. Arteta was gone for weeks on vacation, and deals were getting announced, just Berta sitting there. Obviously, the Norgard deal got announced with Arteta sitting there. He's back from vacation. The team's training. They're in Spain right now. But I think there's a lot of outrage. There's a lot of people saying Arteta out. I mean, I'm like just about there when it comes to wanting this guy out of the team, or wanting this guy out of the club. This is his last year to do anything for me, and he has to do one of three things: win the Champions League, win the league, or do a cup double. You can't win both. You can't win the Carabao Cup, and maybe you come top four and we make a good Champions League run. Maybe. It depends on the circumstances. But those are the three things for me that should be a minimum. If he wins both cups and comes top four, I'm fine with that. I'm honestly fine with that. We make Champions League. We win 2 trophies, which is more than we've had since. We haven't won 2 trophies in years. Our last FA Cup before 2020 was what, 2017? And in between them, we lost cup finals. We lost the Europa final. So yeah, at the end of the day, this deal does not move the needle. It does not push Arsenal into a position where they can challenge for the league, where they can challenge in the Champions League. But it does make the team deeper and gives us more options, even if that option isn't of star quality. Maybe he could turn out to be. We have a decent record of developing some of these young players like Waneri, like Lewis Skelly, like Saka, Martinelli, Smith Rowe, Nketiah even. have developed well at this team. Obviously, there's more than enough people you can point to and say they didn't develop, they actually regressed here, and that's fine. But it's 50 million for depth is insane. So moving on from that, Tottenham Hotspur, well, this is what pisses me off even more, is that they've got a here we go for Kudus. He got announced. He's at the team training, sitting down with fucking James Madison and Van der Ven, chatting it up for 55 million. And this is a guy who can push Saka for a starting position. I'm not saying he's better than Saka. I don't even think they're on the same level. But he definitely can. He could push Odegaard in the 10. And, I mean, I wouldn't really play him off the left. I don't think he's great off the left. But he's versatile. He's a way better player than Madueke. Even though if the stats of last year are kind of similar, I don't think he wanted to be at West Ham. I think he was kind of fed up. The team was shit. They were supposed to be great on paper. They brought in Lopetegui. He just was not it. Brought in Graham Potter, who's just like, whatever. I mean, I don't think he's a great coach either. But it's kind of demotivating to play at a team like that struggles so much, that was supposed to have such an up, because you have players like Paqueta, Kudus. Fulkrug was coming off a hot year. Obviously, he didn't pan out. I think that they brought in Carlos Soler last summer, who's not a great player, but played at PSG. He's got a couple caps for Spain. Brought in Wan-Bissaka, who's been very good for them, and Todibo, who was a Manchester United target. So it's not like they have a bad team. They have a top half of the table team, and they underperformed that. So I think Kudus for 55 million is a steal. I think he's probably the best player at Spurs now, at least in the attacking and midfield options. And it's a great deal for Tottenham, which just kind of sucks, because maybe we could have shot a shot for him and said, hey, you could come in, you could play a number of different positions, but then at the end of the day, that probably jeopardizes the Eze deal, and I don't think he would want to come, because he didn't want to go to Chelsea because of all the people they have coming in, that he wasn't guaranteed a start in his eyes. So you go to Tottenham, your competition on the right is Brendan Johnson. I think he's all right. I think he'll be fine. But yeah, I think it's a really good deal for Tottenham, especially coupled with this Morgan Gibbs-White deal. We got the here we go. They triggered the 60 mil release clause. Who I think Morgan Gibbs-White is a good player, but he's such a Spurs signing. I think he's not going to be another Madison, but like he's like only probably one level above James Madison. And I know you're going to say, "Oh, City wanted him. This team wanted him. That team wanted him." City, who have one of the best scouting teams in the Prem, maybe even in the world, bought Calvin Phillips and thought it was a good idea to spend 100 million on Jack Grealish. So, I mean, and they re-signed Gundogan as their depth for Rodri going out. And when he got hurt, that's who was going to fill in for him. What? I don't know. So obviously clubs can make mistakes, and 60 million for Morgan Gibbs-White is a little more than I would be willing to pay for him. But I think he's a good player. I think he starts over Madison. I think he's a better player than him. You can use him in a couple different positions. I think he's going to be good for the Frank system, this counter-attacking kind of style that Forrest played last year. And it's a good deal if it goes through. So the news today was that Nottingham Forest are considering taking legal action because Tottenham apparently made unsanctioned communications with the player. So according to Sky Sports, it's not yet clear if Forest are able to block the transfer entirely. However, it's expected to be delayed as Forest prepare a complaint with the Premier League. So we'll have to see where this goes, but it seems like the player wants to go to Spurs, or is at least willing to go to Spurs. You kind of bypass the club by triggering the release clause. It's kind of a money dump. I think that's not a good idea. I think if I was Tottenham, I would have tried to negotiate the deal similar to what Galatasaray are doing with Osimhen, where you see if you could pay the same price, but pay it in installments rather than giving a lump sum. And I don't know the exact. Maybe you can do that in this release clause. I don't know. But if you're just dumping 60 million, I don't know what Daniel Levy's really up to. But at the end of the day, it's a good player. It's a Premier League player. It's one of the best attacking midfielders you can get in the Prem. As coupled with Kudus, if Frank's gonna play that 3-5-3 or that 3-4-3 system, where you have two cams and then Solanke's gonna be up top, I think having Kudus and Gibbs-White behind Solanke is really good. And you have someone like Madison off the bench. You have a player like Tell who people were a little upset that Tottenham signed him. But I think he's a decent deal. I think he's still really young and can develop. And I don't think he looked bad. I think he showed a better mentality than a lot of these Tottenham players. And a lot of the time looked like one of their better attacking players. So I feel like Tottenham is going to be exactly where you expect them to be next year. The squad screams out eighth place to me personally, because I don't see them being better than Liverpool, City, Arsenal, Chelsea, Newcastle, Villa, and honestly, on paper, I don't know if they'll be better than Manchester United. I think United are making pretty solid moves. If they can bring in a Watkins, get the Mbuemo deal done, and get a midfielder, I think that team is also another top 7. They're competing for Europa Conference, Europa League spots, which is what better can you do for these two teams that had probably the worst seasons in their history. Other than Spurs winning the Europa League, they finished 17th. And it's not like, oh, they finished 17th. You think they're going to climb 9 spaces or even, oh, you think they're going to get into the top? I mean, if they make the right moves, I think they can compete for top 5. So it's not like you're climbing 12 places. The Premier League starts, everybody's at 0 points. If Spurs win the first game, they're at the top of the table. Doesn't mean they're going to win the league. Doesn't mean they're going to sit there forever. But just because we've seen this with Chelsea, where they won the league, had the worst defense ever, and finished 10th, and then won the league the next year with Conte. And they obviously they brought in people like Conte the player, but they still had Hazard. A team with Hazard and Diego Costa and Pedro and these great players finished 10th, but then also finished first. They won, so if you think Tottenham is going to be shit next year, you're kind of going to be in for a rude awakening. They're going to be good with Frank. They're going to be a smart team. If they can hold on to someone like Romero, they can bring in a really good DM. I see links with Wharton. I hear moves about maybe going for Baliba, but probably not up to the price that Tottenham will want to pay Brighton for that. The price that Brighton wants. But if they bring in a really good DM and maybe they can move on someone like Richarlison and bring in a striker like I don't know, do you go for someone like a Sesko? Do you go for... I thought they were going to land someone like Jonathan David because he just screams out like a Tottenham player to me. Like a free transfer, put him on like 150K a week and have him be competing with Solanke, but I guess not. So, what do I think of Tottenham? They're shit, but they're going to be good shit next year. They're going to be back in that top 8 kind of region. Newcastle strengthened. Villa, I don't think have really strengthened. I don't really know any of the signings they've made. They've kind of lost a little bit of quality in their team by losing someone like Rashford and Asensio not coming in on a permanent deal. So I think that Tottenham could be a sneaky team to finish in the top 6 and even maybe push for 5th, honestly, because Newcastle still has to sort out the defense. If their midfield gets an injury, I don't really know who's going to come into that midfield and fill in someone like a Joe Linton or Bruno G or even a Tonali's spot. Maybe you expect Willock to be like that. I don't see it personally. They still are holding on to someone like Livramento. Lewis Hall had a great year. Hopefully he can improve on that. But I think they need a defender. And probably, honestly, I think they should be looking at a new keeper. But yeah, Tottenham making good moves. Arsenal made probably the worst move in the transfer window so far for a Big 6 team. And yeah, hopefully we get to Here We Go for Gyökeres soon. I know there was a 48-hour cooling down period between negotiations. Obviously, I think that they just went there to negotiate, and they were like, well, we have to go back to London because we got to go announce Norgard, and then players are traveling to Spain and yada, yada, yada. So I think probably tomorrow we'll I don't think we'll get a Here We Go. We'll get more information about it. Fabrizio's kind of just, and Ornstein are just kind of spoon-feeding information we all kind of knew already. But I would say by Monday, I'll probably be on here talking about it. Either a Here We Go for Gyökeres or the deals fell apart and he's going to go to United. So, yeah, hopefully a deal for Eze. accelerates soon, so we could also talk about that. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.